Well, but what is the purpose of allowing all those people into the country? It can't be. I wouldn't imagine that anyone in their society supports this.
Well, let me explain. This is a diabolical scam. What they do is they divert the Medicaid funds and turn it into a slush fund for the states that goes well beyond emergency medical care.
Joe Rogan opens a podcast like any other laid-back conversation about space, memes, and internet chaos. But this time, Elon Musk isn't in a joking mood. There's no grin, no quirky humor, just a calm, measured tone that makes Joe instinctively lean forward. And when Elon says, if people really understood how this system works, they'd lose their minds, Joe laughs, assuming it's another jab at social media, only for Elon to slowly shake his head and say, no, healthcare, immigration, power, instantly draining the room of casual energy as the atmosphere shifts from a friendly podcast to something that feels more like a Senate hearing disguised behind microphones.
Because you mentioned, for example, how much, say, Hillary and Obama have changed their tune from prior speeches where they were hard-nosed about not letting in anyone who's a criminal into the country, having secure borders, all that stuff. So why did they change that?
Elon Musk starts with the one point almost no one argues against: emergency care. He says it's a good thing that hospitals treat everyone. No questions asked. That part matters. But then he adds the part people avoid. When millions of non-citizens use that care, the cost doesn't vanish. It gets passed on to everyone else. Joe Rogan jumps in, asking if that means the system is bleeding money because it's overloaded. Elon nods. Exactly. Costs rise, premiums skyrocket, and people get priced out. Then the politics explode. He pauses and delivers the line that lands hardest. That's not compassion. That's math. Joe goes quiet, letting it sink in. Suddenly, the conversation isn't about empathy or slogans anymore. It's about a system that keeps expanding until it creates dependence instead of solutions.
And New York and California would be bankrupt without the massive fraudulent federal payments that go to those states to pay for illegals.
Their ability to balance budgets is dependent upon illegals getting funding?
The scam level here is so staggering. California and New York and Illinois lie like crazy and say that these are all legitimate payments. Well, these days that I think they're even admitting that they literally want hundreds of billions of dollars for illegals. But for a while there, they're trying to deny it.
Then Joe Rogan does what he always does. He pushes back. But how far does this actually go? Joe asks, are they using banks and credit systems too? Elon Musk smiles like he's been waiting for that exact question. Of course, he says. They can open accounts, access credit, and rack up debt. Then he slows down and drops the real hook. The question is, who pays for that debt? Joe raises an eyebrow. Elon keeps going. It doesn't just disappear, he explains. It gets absorbed, restructured, spread so thin across the system that it almost vanishes from sight. Now multiply that by millions, Elon says. You end up with an invisible economy that quietly bends both reality and politics. Joe lets out a low whistle. So the shadow economy isn't just cash under the table, he says. It's credit too.
They start off by saying, it's not true. It's a right-wing conspiracy theorist.
Right.
Then it starts. Then it's like, I think the next step is, well, it might be true, and then it's like, okay, it is true.
But here's why.
And then the final step is, yeah, it's true, and here's why it's good. Wait a second. You started off saying it's untrue and it's a right-wing conspiracy theorist. Now you're saying it not only is it true, but it's a good thing, and we must do.
That's when Elon Musk shifts the conversation entirely. That's why I created Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, he tells Joe. Joe bursts out laughing. Wait, Doge? Like the meme coin. Elon nods with a half smile. The name's funny. The mission isn't. He explains that Doge uncovered massive fraudulent payments. Billions of dollars bleeding out through fake claims, unverified recipients, and systems that no one was truly monitoring. Joe's eyes widen. So you're saying the fraud is built into the system? Elon leans forward. Exactly. Shut that down, Joe, and you don't just stop waste. You collapse an entire ecosystem that survives by draining money from taxpayers.
Now we're finding out this is part of the reason why this is government shutdown that's going on right now.
Yes, the entire basis for the government shutdown is that the Trump administration correctly does not want to send massive amounts of, like, hundreds of billions of dollars to fund illegal immigrants in the blue states, or in all the states, really. If that is turned off, the illegals will leave. Democratic.
Joe Rogan leans back, rubbing his chin, trying to connect the dots. So, let me get this straight, he says. States like California, New York, Illinois, they know exactly what's going on. Elon Musk doesn't hesitate. They absolutely know. He explains that the payment are framed as legitimate assistance, quietly folded into state support programs. Then those same states turn to the federal government and request reimbursements tied to caring for residents. But there's a catch. Those reimbursements, Elon says, are calculated by population size, not citizenship status. Joe's expression tightens as it clicks. So the more people they count, the more money they get. Elon nods once. Now you're seeing the formula. Joe.
And by the way, it's a strategy that, if allowed to work, would work. And in fact has, which is that when we do the census in the United States, the way the census works for apportionment of congressional seats and electoral college votes for the president is by number of persons in a state, not number of citizens.
Right.
It's number of people. So you could literally be a tourist